Now, sports with Pete Byrne.
After a standout career at Notre Dame, LaPhonso Ellis was the 5th overall pick in the 1992 NBA draft. Ellis, who now lives in Granger, spent 13 seasons in the NBA with the Denver Nuggets, Atlanta Hawks, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Miami Heat. More than a decade since he played his last game, there's one game that stands above the rest. Exactly 20 years ago today, May 7th, 1994, Ellis and the Denver Nuggets made history, becoming the first 8 seed in the NBA playoffs to win a series.
Really unique space and time, and I feel very privileged and blessed to have been a part of it.
You'd never know LaPhonso Ellis played more than a decade in the NBA by walking through his Granger home, were it not for two very distinct pieces of memorabilia. The first is a life-size cutout from his rookie year, which his kids insist on keeping in the living room just for fun. But the second tells a story that has become a major piece of NBA history. In 1994, LaPhonso's Denver Nuggets made the playoffs as the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Their opponent, the Seattle Sonics, who had won a league-best 63 games.
We were blown out in Game 1. A superb Seattle team led by Gary Payton and our local Sean Kemp. They just seized every opportunity. Every turnover seems like they were laying it in or dunking it on the other side.
The Nuggets also lost Game 2, and many figured the Sonics would close them out in 3 games. But Ellis and his teammates knew something the Sonics didn't.
We didn't lose a lot on our home floor. For a team whose average age was 26, I think, at the time, ignorance is bliss. So we knew that, especially if we won Game 3 on our home floor, we felt that that momentum would give us an advantage in Game 4.
Ellis carries the ball.
The Nuggets did win Game 3 at home, and led by LaPhonso's dominant play, won Game 4, sending the series back to Seattle for a decisive Game 5.
I remember looking around, we were like, we got them right where we want them. And so a game that went back and forth, ebb and flowing, went into overtime, we were able to pull it off.
Fonz's Nuggets had just made NBA history.
One of the great upsets in NBA playoff history.
Everyone remembers that iconic moment with Dikembe Mutombo laying on the floor with the basketball on top of his head. It still didn't dawn on me for many, many years what that really meant.
20 years have passed since that iconic moment, and Ellis has a deeper appreciation for what he and his teammates accomplished.
I didn't recognize it really at the time. It was only afterwards that you start to go, wow, every reference that is made to a current team potentially becoming a number 8 seed to be the number 1 seed goes all the way back to 1994.
Ellis has been out of the league for a decade, but still uses the lessons learned in that series as he coaches his 14-year-old son's team.
That moment in 1994 on a team who no one cared who scored the most points, I'm taking a bit of that philosophy and applying it to our team.
So much to take from one game, one moment, 20 years ago.
20 years later, we didn't win a world championship, didn't even get to the Western Conference Finals, but that moment resonates in the hearts of so many people.
Case in point, last week the Indiana Pacers got taken to a 7th game. They were a 1 seed, could have lost to an 8 but didn't, and sure enough, highlights and images of that series pop up. Every time there's a close series between a 1 and an 8, for the rest of time in the NBA, you're going to see those images, and LaPhonso Ellis was a huge part of it.
And interesting, you got a guy, Sean Kemp out of Concord, and LaPhonso from Notre Dame, so local products almost here that were part of that series.
Squared off against each other. Of course, those are the 2 guys in the picture that he keeps on his wall in his living room. Other sports notes today, the Silverhawks got beat. We'll have highlights of that coming up tonight, plus some high school baseball.